Yes, it's Dan the Fan, back for another edition of Fighting Talk. What's good, people? Shout out to everyone that watched that first one. Yeah, listen, when it comes to social media and all that, I'm shit, mate. I ain't got any of it. Listen, just a fan who wants to throw his opinions out there, and anyone that wants to subscribe and fucking share to their friends, all that good shit. Much appreciated. Obviously, that was how the word will spread. Because like I said, I'm not on the social media shit. I'm just gonna put these videos out. Hopefully, the people that wanna watch them will somehow get to them. And yeah, for the most part, I'm just enjoying myself with doing it. You know, I'm a fan of boxing. I've been for 20 years. Fan of MMA as well. And for whatever reason, I feel like my opinion is worth hearing. So that being said, the talking point at the moment is obviously this Wilder press conference. Wilder Breazeale has been announced on Showtime, May the 18th. It's not on pay-per-view. It's going to be free to air, which, you know, that's a positive for the fans. What it actually leads me to wonder is what's going to happen with the UK broadcaster on that, because it would be quite funny if it ends up on Sky after everything, obviously with Eddie Hearn's affiliation to Sky. But I don't see why it wouldn't, to be honest, because they had the Lewis Ortiz fight, obviously, on Sky. That was obviously with a view to getting the Joshua fight, and let's be honest, they still want that fight. So it could, drinking gluten-free beer, by the way, just because it was cheaper. Went to the local Tesco. They must be putting a drive in the old gluten-free. As long as it ain't alcohol-free, it's fine with me. But drink responsibly, because, you know, I've just had a long day. Kids are in bed, asleep. So yeah, I'm indulging in a gluten-free parody. So don't judge me. Anyway, so let me get down to the breakdown of the Wilder press conference. I've just watched it just now. The first thing, what's up with Steven Espinosa, man? His whole delivery of that press conference I found very weird. Like, he wasn't really hosting it. They had another guy who I wasn't familiar with hosting it. He did a pretty good job, to be fair. But yeah, the whole introduction from Espinosa I found very weird. His demeanor was really off to me. It was very noticeable. I don't know. Listen, let me say about this whole Wilder situation. A lot's been said about, you know, Wilder, Fury, Joshua. I'm going to try and remain subjective, try and remain impartial. At the end of the day, I'm a fan of boxing first and foremost. I want to see those fights because I think they'll be great fights in their own right. But I've tried not to be a fanboy of each individual, because you can see online how that sways people's opinion, and they want to stick to just being on one side of an argument. And to me, that's not smart, you know, because your opinion of things can change as you get new information. Like, what I thought about something 5 years ago, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example, like an artist, for example, that I thought was great 5 years ago. I might not like it anymore now, you know, or I might have got, you know, just, you get new information about subjects at the end of the day. I haven't got a ready-made example for you there, but I think you see where I'm going with it. Your opinion of things change as the information provided to you changes. Well, it should do. I mean, I think that's not always the case with some of these guys that I'm talking about, the extreme fanboys that will defend a point to the death, whether it's right or wrong, whether you get some new information, or even the fighter will even come out and kind of allude to the fact that it's true, but the fan will still defend to the death that it isn't true, you know. So I think it's not healthy to be a fanboy of each individual, because one, leads you to have a biased opinion, and two, I just think it's unrealistic to put people on pedestals in life, you know, to really look up to someone and use them as a role model, and, you know, like I say, put them on an unrealistic plateau. I don't think it's healthy to do that with people in life, because everyone's human at the end of the day. And particularly with public figures, a lot of the time they're managing what is being released to the public with a real fine eye, a fine tooth comb, should I say. So you don't want to get too caught up in the images that are being sold to you, you know? So yeah, it's a long way of saying, look, I'm trying to remain impartial. So these are just my observations, isn't it? Espinosa, listen, he's done an amazing job for boxing. Showtime has been a real player in the sport of boxing. And he's been at the forefront of that. So listen, he's gonna go down in the history books as for what he's done for boxing. But bro, his demeanor was just all off, man. And we can speculate why that is, but I just feel like he's feeling the pressure right now. And was he forced into not making this pay-per-view? I don't know, maybe because they couldn't. I don't know. Let's address the fact it's not pay-per-view, which is good for the fans as a whole. Whether it will end up on maybe a Sky or a BT. Obviously, Frank Warren's got a connection with Shelley Finkel. Hopefully, it ends up on. It'd be mad. It'd be crazy for that not to be televised in this country because a lot of people want to watch it. So no pay-per-view is great for Showtime subscribers at the end of the day, rather than having to pay £80 or $80, sorry, $75, $90, crazy prices that they have to pay in America. But this whole notion that they're still for the fans, like I'll be honest, again, I'm trying to be impartial here, but that's very hard to hear, bro. Like I don't believe that. I'm a cynical person, maybe, given my experience of boxing and life in general, I suppose. And listen, I want boxers to want to make money. I want them to make money and walk off into the sunset with a big bag of money because they put their lives on the line. It's a brutal sport. So I definitely am not, I'm not going to judge someone for wanting more money for a fight, for example. So this whole notion that, oh yeah, it's not on pay-per-view because I wanted to give back for the fans. I think it's much more likely that it's not on pay-per-view because they wouldn't even break even. There's a lot that goes into selling a pay-per-view, innit? You've got to put a lot of marketing dollars into putting a pay-per-view on. They have to be on in all the right places, seen by the right people, because you've got to spend money, you've got to speculate to accumulate, innit? And you're going to want to see your return on that investment. And I don't think the numbers that Wilder Breazeale does on pay-per-view actually even breaks even or makes it worth it. Especially when you've got people trying to destroy the pay-per-view model. I think they would have got absolutely ripped for making this pay-per-view. And listen, they're not idiots. As much as people want to paint Wilder as a bit of an idiot, let me just say one thing that I would say about boxers in general. You do need a certain IQ to be a world champion boxer, man. You do. They talk about ring IQ. Okay, that's a type of IQ. That's IQ with ring in front of it. You know what I mean? So you need... IQ is about, to me, I'm not an expert, it's about solving problems, being able to predict outcomes based upon the history. You know what I'm saying? Being able to... Because nothing's really for certain. So being able to work on probabilities and to make the right decisions. And that's what boxing's about, really, innit? To hit and not be hit, to roll that punch. And yeah, you can say Wilder's not the most technically gifted guy, but he's still the world champion. He's still a world champion, so he's still got to have a certain IQ. So I don't think the guy is completely stupid. And just with boxers in general, if they're not articulate and they ain't got a good vocabulary, they're not well educated, they might come across as idiots, dum-dums, like punchy even. And maybe that is the case for some of them. Maybe they've just been trained so well and they've practiced something so many times that they've become good at it. But I think to be an elite boxer, you do have to be, you have to have a level of intellect. So I'm not going to say Wilder's an idiot, and I definitely don't think Al Heyman's an idiot. So they're going to have known that people would be in outrage at this being a pay-per-view, and they're going to have been able to predict the numbers. And if they're saying that Fury did 325,000, what do you think Breazeale does then? I mean, I heard talks, you know, you can't believe everything you read, but I heard talks that I think Wilder and Fury got money after a certain amount of pay-per-view buys. So like after 250,000 buys, then they got paid. So that would lead you to believe, you know, 250,000 is like a break-even point. So if Fury and Wilder does 325,000 buys, does Breazeale and Wilder do 250? Probably not. It's not the fight people want to see. So to me, it's more of a business decision that it's not on pay-per-view. And obviously, once you decide it's not being on pay-per-view, the obvious angle, because listen, it's all about spin. It's like politics. People talk about the politics within boxing, but it literally is like politics, because politics is about managing people's perceptions to gain votes, to gain support, to back moves that you're trying to make. Big part of being a promoter is managing the perception of your fighter, to get bums on seats, to get people interested in their story, even if they're the heel. Like Mayweather made the most amount and he was the bad guy. People were paying that money to see him get knocked out, but they're still paying the money. It still goes in the bank and it still gets spent the same way. It's still worth the same amount. So managing perception is a key factor in it. So they're obviously going to spin it as, oh, this one's for the fans. We're doing this for you, man. This one's for the fans. And to me, that's hard to swallow, innit? It's a bitter pill to taste, that one, because I just don't believe it. And I'm not mad at the fact you want to make money. You want to manage the perception in order to make a better payday further down the line. I'm not mad at that at all, you know. But I just don't believe for a second it's actually all for the fans. Like, that's just my perception. Now, obviously the big topic, is he ducking Joshua? Obviously this is a cliche, but I think the fighters want to fight each other. I do. I think, again, we'll go back to the people managing their careers. There's no rush for that fight, really. I know us as fans, we want to see that fight, but if I'm, you know, managing their careers, either one of them, come on, bro, you tell me that fight's not going to get bigger after Joshua comes to New York, after Wilder. He'll probably have a good bit of build-up with Breazeale, because there is that animosity. People will watch the fight because it's free. He'll get good numbers on it. They're going to ride this wave of, oh yeah, the ESPN. It's ironic that they're quoting ESPN now, but ironic, they're using the fact that ESPN has rated him, I think, 34th most known person, which is the highest active boxer. Okay, cool. That's based upon the last few months and searches and things of that nature, you know. If I was Joshua, my line would be like, bro, people ain't got to search me, they know who I am. You know what I mean? But anyway, pardon me. This whole thing of them ducking the DAZN thing, look, I think they might have played this a lot smarter than we think, you know. It depends on how much they got off of Showtime, because they must have got a big guaranteed purse off of Showtime. They had to. They've played them off against ESPN and DAZN. And DAZN and ESPN are subscriber-based businesses right now, and they are throwing massive investments into the sport in order to push their subscribers. It won't always be like that. So for me, I still feel like he should have. In my personal opinion, I think he should have took the DAZN deal, take that money now, and don't think that it's going to be bigger in the future, because you never know what's going to happen. But saying that, summer last year, he was offered 15 million to fight Joshua. They ended up not doing the fight. Povetkin got pulled as a mandatory. Joshua fights Povetkin. People saying he was crazy to not take that 15 million. That's what, summer 2018. Then what, March 2019, so say 9 months Yeah, say 9 months later, he's getting offered 40 million. So people said he was crazy for not taking that 15 when he had it. 9 months later, he got offered 40 million. And one of the reasons, he also got a two-way rematch as well, because one of the reasons they didn't take that 15 supposedly was the fact that there was only a one-way rematch clause in Joshua's favor. So 9 months later, he ends up getting what? It's like 25 more, offered 25 million more, bro. So listen, as I said, Al Heyman's not an idiot. Maybe they end up playing this out longer. Like, as I was saying, because I often get caught off track here. Think about this. We're disappointed this fight doesn't happen now, yeah? We're the pure boxing. I'm not going to act like I'm a complete boxing expert, but, you know, I'm not a casual anyway. So, and there's nothing wrong with being casual, by the way. But these casual fans, they still need a little bit more to make this fight as big as it could be. You got to think, this is a country that had a $400 million fight in Mayweather-Pacquiao. Now, these guys are heavyweights, so potentially this could eclipse that. But I don't think it will. But is it not reasonable to think it could do half that? 200 million? And then, in that case, 40 million is not a great offer, is it? That's what, 20%, isn't it? 5 fours. It's, yeah. Yeah, I think, if not, anyway. But the point is that this fight could be a lot bigger. Breazeale gets banged up by Wilder. 2 weeks later, Miller gets stopped by AJ. He calls out Deontay Wilder. You tell me that's not more buys right there. That's not more subscribers. That's not more numbers. That's not more eyes towards the fight. Maybe Joshua fights again in America. Beats another undefeated American. Wilder beats another guy and knocks him out, because that's how he wins fights at the end of the day. He knocks people out. And it is exciting. I mean, it's Luis Ortiz fight. It's a great fight. Great fight. If Breazeale's anywhere near that, I'll be more than happy, you know? So, yeah, disappointing. 100% disappointing. And I would have liked to seen him take that deal. 20 million for the Breazeale fight. That's great money. I'll be very surprised if Showtime's come up near that. Because how can they? How can they if they're not putting it on pay-per-view? But yeah, listen, Breazeale Wilder is very similar to Joshua Miller, really, as a defense, as a world title defense, isn't it? Really, you know. So, people are going to get onto Wilder for not taking the Joshua fight. I think the good thing is hopefully that, I don't know. They haven't put out the details. Hopefully in the coming days, we'll see the full details of this deal, because everything seems to get leaked. Sources are always there. It always gets a bit saucy, you know. So hopefully we'll find out more if it's a multi-fight deal or not, because that would be a shame. Because the one thing I can say about Joshua, he's kept control of his own career. As much as Wilder's talked about doing that, and he doesn't want to get signed or bogged down to a big deal. I could understand why you didn't want to get bogged down to a big deal against, going to ESPN. I could understand that. Yeah, and obviously that Arum and Heyman thing was always going to be hard to work through. And this Shelley Finkel, Eddie Hearn thing, I think they've both made mistakes in the way they've negotiated the fight, and that's really become a big hurdle, I think, to it happening. But I honestly think it could have got made, you know. Al Heyman and Eddie Hearn, or his people, they've worked closely to make fights in the past. Obviously, since his foray into America, he's been seen a lot differently, and he's been seen as an enemy. He's not just that plucky UK guy that's killing it over there. Now he's come and stepped on their shores, and he's ruffled a lot of feathers in the way that he's done things. And I think he's probably made a couple missteps in the way that he's handled things, because, you know, as much as the Zone is killing it, he hasn't really, Matchroom USA hasn't really got that US star that they can really put those marketing dollars behind. So I'm sure he's probably learned from certain things, and he'd probably do things differently going in, especially with the launch of the zone and some of the things that he put out there. But it's all entertaining, and I'm all glad that he always throws these things out there, because it's great for us as fans, you know. Sometimes it backfires for him, or sometimes he probably talks fights over the line a little bit by mentioning them in interviews and stuff like that, or he talks deals over the line, because it might put pressure on fighters and stuff like that to actually follow through and sign. So yeah, I can't knock it in that regard. But yeah, coming back to the deal. Obviously, 20 million for Breazeale, and then 2 fights with AJ. To me, you can't say that's getting tied down to a 3-fight deal, bro. 2 of them are with AJ though. 2 of them are for the undisputed. You get to fight for the undisputed title twice, bro. You get a chance at history twice, and you wanted a 2-way rematch clause. So you get 80 million out of that fight. But as I said, it could be a $200 million fight in a couple years' time, and maybe Wilder ends up getting 80. Twice. Maybe he gets 160, and maybe we look like idiots in a couple years, and maybe Al Heyman looks like a G. Maybe. But for now, obviously, it's extremely disappointing that we're not going to get this undisputed fight anytime soon. But AJ's still young, man. It's not like this is a cashing out sort of move for them. And listen, I'm sure, because I think Eddie Hearn, the main thing is the public perception, innit? Managing that perception. And now I think the pressure's off him a little bit now, because, you know, people have seen that he's gone to great lengths to try and make the fight. You know, he's kept quiet and tried sending the big guns with John Skipper, to zone Skipper, pun intended, pun me. But it's not worked out, and they've gone another way. And I don't think Eddie Hearn and Joshua have the pressure on them anymore. I don't. So I feel like it's not the worst thing in the world for Eddie, because now he can continue to fight top 10 guys, travel around the world a bit, maybe fight in Nigeria. I know they've spoken about that before. Yeah, and just give the zone big fights, really. He can... Yeah, I honestly think the pressure's off Eddie a bit now, so I don't think it's the end of the world for them to get another 3-4 fights out of Joshua before they actually go and fight that dangerous fight with Wilder. Don't get me wrong, I do think AJ beats him just on the fundamentals. Just technically, I just think he's better, and I think he'd pick him apart, to be honest. But there would always be that danger that he gets caught. So it is an extremely intriguing fight, and I'd love to see it. So it's a disappointment that we're not going to see it anytime soon, and it's kind of gone back to yesteryear with these guys. I thought we were getting out of this era where politics was going to ruin the fights, but we're actually fucking knee deep in it right now, you know, which is a big shame. But yeah, listen, 23 minutes, this time just flies when I'm rattling on and no one's here to stop me. So listen, Fighting Talk, Dan the Fan, giving my breakdown of what I saw with the Wilder press conference. Espinosa looking a bit shady. Wilder came on there. They're kind of preempting what people are going to say and what they were discussing. I felt like the back and forth with him and Breazeale was actually pretty good. I thought it was pretty spicy. He was talking about the events that took place when they had the altercation. I think that was interesting. I think the fight would be all right. They're both stand and fight sort of guys. Money-wise, it seems, at this point, it does seem kind of mad that he's turned down what he's turned down. But again, this could build, and it could be the right move for him in the long run. But I just feel like if you think you beat Joshua, and if you and the people around you think that you beat Joshua, you take that fight. And you tour the land as undisputed fighter, and you fight anyone because you're undisputed. No one would really care. Don't get me wrong, you wouldn't be undisputed for long as you get that mandatory and that. But you literally, any publication that will have you, you take a picture with all of them belts around your waist, and you go down in history as that guy who was the first ever 4-belt undisputed heavyweight champion. So to me, I would have loved to have seen it this year. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. But, listen, interesting fights. I'll probably watch both of these fights, Wilder Breazeale and AJ Miller, and hopefully they call each other out. Hopefully this fight gets somewhat closer. But we'll see what happens. Dan the Fan, Fighting Talk, we out.